let me go now to Dr. H.A. Sikanku, who is an academic, who is going to give us a more academic and well-researched opinion on the matter. Dr. Sikanku, good evening. Can I see him? Oh, have the people taken his camera out? Hi, H.A., there you are. Hello.
Hi, Paul. Hi.
It's debate night again.
Yes, it is. One of the most momentous and one of the most critical moments in American presidential politics, but also in the history of presidential elections. This is the first time that Kamala Harris is going to debate Donald Trump face to face. It is a very different dynamic. This has never happened before in American politics in terms of the change in the presidential candidate and in terms of the timing of the race. There is also a gender dynamic to it. And it's the first time that Kamala Harris is going to face Donald Trump face to face. There are a number of things that many Americans are looking forward to seeing. First is whether Kamala Harris is going to hold her own against Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been behind the polls. He's lost his momentum. He's looking forward to using this as an opportunity to get himself back into the race. So yes, many people are observing, watching to see really how this particular debate turns out.
What are the issues for the debate? What subjects are they going to debate? Is it the economy? Is it border security? Is it international relations like the Gaza situation? Is it petroleum? Is it green America, green world? What are the issues listed for this debate?
Well, there are quite a number of things that are up for discussion. Of course, the economy is the most important thing or the most prominent thing up for discussion. Many Americans are concerned about the state of the economy. Inflation has been an issue of concern, but the statistics do show that it's coming down. Unemployment has also been a major issue of concern, but that is also coming down as well. But the debt has continued to be a major issue that has plagued many Americans. And if you speak to everyday Americans, although the statistics do show that the economy has not gotten as bad as many would like them to think, what you are hearing from many Americans is that they do not feel the real effect in their pockets. Prices continue to be quite high and very difficult for a lot of people on a daily basis. So the economy will definitely be a major issue of discussion, but I got to say as well that the politics of immigration continues to be a major and a central issue of concern. The rise of populism around the world, the rise of the far right, and indeed the rise of Trumpism has been predicated on issues of immigration, on issues of otherness, on issue of racism, of color, and he has really ridden on that to be able to steer his presidential candidacy. Kamala Harris was also one of the people who was assigned to the issue of immigration, and so Donald Trump has continued to pile on accusations that she did not handle the immigration issue properly. Many Americans are concerned about the porous border. They are concerned about the influx of immigrants into their country. And so if you are watching this debate, this is going to be one of the central issues of contestation in the debate. Of course, Kamala Harris is going to push back and say that it was Donald Trump who prevented senators from agreeing on the bipartisan immigration bill that was passed. And so she would try to push back. But if you look at issues that Americans are concerned about, immigration is really high up there. And if you look across the world, from Germany to Europe, immigration has continued to fuel the rise of the far right. And definitely many people will be watching to see how Donald Trump leans into this and how Kamala Harris herself responds. There is also international affairs. The issue going on in the Palestinian region, Israel's incursions into the Gaza region. This is beyond America. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has been raging on as far as we can remember, has been going on as much as we can remember. Donald Trump, and there's a politics to it. Donald Trump has said that if he was president, he would have given Israel a far more greater reign in the Gaza region, and so trying to really rile up the Republican base. Kamala Harris has this to contend with because it's a very dicey issue for her. There is a constituency in the Democratic base who are very concerned about American overreach into the Gaza region. And so these people have tried to steer Kamala Harris into the center and to urge American restraint. And so Kamala really has a tightrope to walk there. She should go full in supporting Israel, or she really has to bend to the progressive base who are very much concerned about American tax dollar being used for to support Israel in a war over there. So that will be the second issue. And the very third major issue would be the issue of reproductive rights, the right to choose. I cannot say enough about this. One of the central issues that has continued to fuel the rise of the Democratic candidate or the Democratic Party, especially in the midterms, was the huge support that women or females gave to the Democratic Party. If you do the analysis of the polls and everything, you'd realize that one of the reasons why Kamala Harris is ahead is the large support base that she has among women. And why is that so? It has to do with the right to choose, the right for women to decide if they do want to have an abortion or not. And we know that there was repeal of Roe versus Wade, and that has become a big rallying cry for most females in America, because they believe that the government or nobody should dictate to them what they should do with their bodies. And so there are a lot of Republicans who are actually supporting Kamala Harris because of what they think are the extremist tendencies of Donald Trump. So there is that issue of abortion, but it has been framed by Kamala Harris as an issue of choice, as an issue of freedom. And if you do know this, democracy is a major one that really subscribes to the issue of liberty, the issue of freedom, and the right to live in an individual and a country based on your individual choice, the right to liberty, freedom, happiness, and prosperity. And once this is under attack, it becomes a major issue of concern. So I've talked about economy, I've talked about immigration, I've talked about reproductive rights and freedom. And of course, it is being framed as an attack on democracy as well. Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney have come out to do a kind of double tagging on Donald Trump, saying that one of the greatest threats to the survival of American democracy is Donald Trump, and that this is the last chance for Americans to stop the breakdown and the destruction of the American Republic as they know it to be. So really, there's a lot at stake in this particular debate. There are major issues people are really concerned about, and the debate is really going to give them the opportunity to go at each other and thrash out these issues.
Very interesting. As you speak over there, you talked about the Dick Cheney endorsement of Kamala Harris. What about the Kennedy endorsement of Donald Trump? Did it resonate anywhere, and did it give Trump any plaudits among the independents?
I don't think it's done much. It was just an episodic moment, and that was just about it. He has not gained any traction since then, and I do not think that he influences the race in any dynamic. Most people from the Kennedy family have come out to issue their own support for Kamala Harris. And so he's a lone ranger as far as that is concerned. His policies are also viewed as a bit extremist, especially his anti-vaccination stand. That is something that is really frowned upon by a lot of Americans. And so he is not a very important calculus in this entire dynamic.
You talked about immigration as being one of the lead issues coming up in this election. Let's look at the Hispanics as a group, and also African Americans as a group. It is said that the Hispanics together with the African Americans will perhaps be more than the Caucasian Americans if you look at their voters register. Are Hispanics interested in a certain view of the matter? Are they united on a particular issue so that we're going to have Hispanics on block vote in a certain way, as we saw in the Barack Obama election and perhaps the 2016 election? Are African Americans looking at it as, do they have an issue that they consider as an African American issue, therefore they are all going to vote on block on that issue? Is there something like that in this election?
Thank you, Paul. I do think that the Latino vote is a very important block. It's a very important dynamic, and both parties have made a play for it. It's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of political connoisseurs had thought that it would have been a very good idea to have Marco Rubio, that very inspiring Latino figure, as the vice president. I definitely belong to that bloc who think that Rubio would have changed the dynamic of the race. But instead, Donald Trump decided to double down and go for J.D. Vance. So that does not buy him any advantage in terms of that Latino vote. When African Americans, Latinos respond to these polls, and you look at the breakdown of what they are saying, I do think that a major issue of concern for them is the economy. They are concerned about candidates who empathize with them, candidates who understand their condition, candidates who are promulgating policies that will address the problems that the middle class is facing. I mean, there are real issues that many Americans are facing. The ability to buy a house, mortgage prices are going high, interest rates are high. You talk to the business community, they do talk about high interest rates and the cost of doing business. And so there are very, very real issues that Americans are facing, especially when it comes to housing, when it comes to the cost of healthcare, and when it comes to access to affordable medications and affordable health care. I do think that this is going to be the bellwether issue. This is going to be the major determining factor. The work for both candidates is for them to be able to present themselves in a way that allows the middle class and allows all these constituent voters to understand that they appreciate their conditions and that they are going to come and make life better for a lot of them. I think this is the play that most of the candidates are making. And so when you look at the themes around which they are talking, they do talk about increasing the working conditions for most voters. Definitely, Kamala Harris is leading among the African-American voting bloc. She's leading among the women. She's leading among the the college-educated voters. And Donald Trump, if you look at it, is leading among people who are less educated. He's leading among older white male figures. And he's also leading among those who decide or think who is going to make the economy better. They do think that Donald Trump leads when it comes to the issue of who is going to make the economy better. So, and I got to say that there is also a sizable percentage of people who are undecided. There are about 28% of most of the polls that you see of people who do say that they still haven't made up their minds. And that's quite a sizable proportion. So in many ways, this race is still a toss-up. And also, both candidates do have to paint a certain vision of America that appeals to the constituents in terms of their policies, in terms of their programs. Voters or audiences will be looking out for a lot of detail as to how they are going to rule differently and how they are going to make their lives better for them. I do think these are some of the things that people are going to be looking out for. But I'm on a college campus. I took the opportunity to talk to a lot of young people. What you hear is that they are concerned about the civility, the decency, the kind of democracy that America is building at this point. There are people who are very concerned about the nastiness, as they put it, of politics. And so they are looking for a candidate or looking at both candidates to see which of these candidates appeals to them in terms of the tone of political speech, in terms of the tone of political language. But we also do know that there's a base who get really riled up by this extremist talk, by this straight talk, as they put it. And so they'll be looking at the temperament of the candidates as well when they get onto that stage. If you ask what is the one big takeaway or one big thing that people are going to look out for, they're going to find out whether Donald Trump is the kind of Donald Trump they are going to see on stage. His advisors have told him that he should rein in on his acerbic talk. He should rein in on his aggressiveness. He says he wants to be who he is. But the advice most people are giving Kamala Harris is to make sure that she goes high when Donald Trump goes low. One of the biggest risks for her is to follow up and get into a back and forth with Donald Trump. That really is going to make her look small. And so in this particular debate, a very, very big task for Kamala Harris will be to see really how she handles Donald Trump, and also the kind of Donald Trump that we are going to see in the race. Remember, the mics are muted. That is something that the Trump campaign really wanted. They wanted the mics to be muted while they were not talking, because they were kind of concerned that Donald Trump was going to say something really, really derogatory, which would upend his campaign. And so that is also a big dynamic in the race, to see how the muted mics would affect their own tone, their language, their temperament, and their behavior in this particular presidential debate. So it's a very critical moment in presidential politics, and a very important opportunity to see deliberative democracy at play, to give a lot of people who have not yet made up their mind to see the temperament of the candidate, to listen to their different visions for the country, to listen to the details of their policy programs, and to finally make up their mind as to which of them they are going to vote for. As a debate connoisseur, or as a debate analyst, I do think that one of the biggest tasks for both of them is to see who is going to get to the heart of the candidate. Debates are not just about policy, they're not just about logic or reason, but they are also about appealing to the hearts and to the minds of candidates. It's about how to boil down those policy details into understandable and very, very comprehensible narratives that make the voters, or that make the audiences, really appreciate these policies and programs. And I do think that the task for Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is how to get in there. That's the difference with Joe Biden. He came in with a lot of policy prep, and he sounded a bit above, he talked a bit above the voters, and so it did not resonate with a lot of them. And so some of these debates are very important, not just in terms of policy data and statistics, but also demonstrating to the general public that you do understand their problems, you know what they feel, and that you appreciate it, and that you have their best interest at heart. It is about appealing or restoring the faith in the American people, in democracy, in their ability to uplift their present circumstances. I do think that at the end of the debate, the candidate who is able to do this is the candidate who is likely to resonate with the American public. And after that, we'll see what happens in the VP debate. As at this time, J.D. Vance is leading Tim Walz. When they asked most voters, which of these candidates are you likely to have beer with? Most of them chose Tim Walz compared to J.D. Vance. So there are a lot of dynamics when it comes to debates. And there will be many Americans and people around the world who keenly be watching this to see its implications, and not just for national politics here in the U.S., but also what it means for international politics and for international cooperation, peace, and security all across the world.
The final question to you is, who is debate host?
Well, I think it's David Lear and another television host from ABC News. Both of them have experience and expertise in presidential debates. I believe they've hosted primary debates and also presidential debates as well. So these are not the usual names that we hear. They definitely are from ABC News, which it has been doing this for a very long time. Stephen Stephanopoulos, who has done this a long time, stepped down, so he's not doing it this time around. But both candidates seem to be comfortable, and they do not, it's interesting that you asked that, because debate hosts always become a major issue of contention. So it's interesting that both candidates haven't shown any concern about who the hosts are. The best that has happened is that Trump was very concerned about the network itself and said the network hasn't been kind to Republicans. But later on, he reneged on that, and people said he was giving excuses as to why he didn't want to take part in the debate. But later on, he reneged about his position on ABC News, and I do think that everything is set in place to really see how one of the most critical moments in presidential elections pan out.
Have a good time, Dr. Sikankwu. We'll come back on Thursday and talk about what the reactions are from the debates. Thank you very much.